I want to talk to you about discipline and the discipline of difficulty. Now, I have some thoughts here that may be different from yours, so it could be an exciting morning. Stay with me. Hello, I just love to see where you are now and what you're doing. It fascinates me just to think of it. I know a number of you are driving. I know one of the ladies in our ministry says she listens to me while she paints ducks on the back porch. They're wooden ducks, I found out, which was a sort of comfort. But I hope you're going to enjoy this because it's going to be a little different. In this Helps to Holiness, one subject that is very fascinating is this whole matter of the discipline of difficulty. You see, difficulties in our lives, as far as I can see, come from one of three sources. Most of them come from ourselves, I believe. I really do. And I don't think we can usually blame anyone or anything else. Maybe almost 90% of our difficulties come from ourselves. The second area they come from are our circumstances, which of course includes people. People we work with, people we live with. The third area is Satan. I don't think many come from him. I do believe with all my heart that when you and I get into difficulties, he's there to try and make it worse and destroy us. But no difficulty that I see comes to me from God. I do believe God allows difficulties into life. I really do. But I don't think he sends it. I believe his permissive will is involved, because I've said to you before, I don't think anything can happen to you, I don't think anything can happen to Richard that the Lord our God does not allow. But I don't believe God sends difficulties into his children's lives. I think he allows them so that he can use them to his glory. I think basically he allows them for our spiritual growth and maturity so that we can become strong in him. Isn't it true? Most of us who've been through difficulties would not have known God as well as we do if we hadn't gone through the difficulties. That's the exact point. Now, we have to get down to this word discipline. And I've struggled with this for years. For 9 years. In Jesus Focus, I've asked at different times in different Bible study groups how God disciplines. I say, give me specific examples of God's discipline in your life. I've never had one. I've heard them beat around the bush. I've heard them go in circles. They've never given me an answer that satisfies me. Why not? Well, I don't believe God does discipline us in that sense. I really don't. Because what people are saying is God punishes, God chastises. I don't think that's true. I don't think they've got down to the real meaning of those words. Listen, Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 5. If you've got a Bible, share it. If you haven't, I'll read to you. If you're driving, let me read. Hebrews 12 verse 5. And you have forgotten that word of encouragement that addresses you as sons. My son, do not make light of the Lord's discipline, and do not lose heart when he rebukes you, because the Lord disciplines those he loves, and he punishes everyone he accepts as a son and daughter. Endure hardship as discipline. God is treating you as sons. For what son is not disciplined by his father? Just a sideline. Too many sons today are not being disciplined by their fathers. If you're not disciplined, and everyone undergoes discipline, then you're an illegitimate child and not true sons. Moreover, we have all had human fathers who disciplined us, and we respected them for it. How much more should we submit to the Father of spirits and live? All right, so what's the writer saying here? Well, first of all, let's get down to the meaning of words. First of all, discipline. In the New Testament, the word discipline means a sound mind. Well, what does that mean? If you're going to have a sound mind, a disciplined mind, you as a Christian are going to have a mind that is focused on God. The direction and the motivation of your life is going to be in and through the Holy Spirit. The attitude that you're going to have is going to be one of a Christ-like submission, because you are living with a sound mind. Is that you today? If so, you're disciplined. What about the word chasten? Fascinating. It doesn't mean to punish. It means to train a child. It means to give a broad education. That's the root word. You see, the anger of God is set against sin, not against sinners. The punishment of God is for sin. And Jesus has borne on the cross all the anger of God. Now, I find there are some Christians who teach that God's anger is still against us. I don't believe that. I do believe God's anger is against sin. But otherwise, I don't think the sacrifice of Jesus Christ on the cross was sufficient. Then I get into all sorts of weird theology. If when Jesus died, his sacrifice was total, complete, and sufficient, and that's what the Bible teaches, then when he died, he washed away all the punishment, all that we talk about as punishment, that comes against those who've sinned and now believe in Jesus Christ. We are set free. And somehow there seems to be almost a martyr spirit in some Christians that they want to get a bit more. He absorbed. He destroyed all that should have come to us from God. And that's why we have a restored relationship with our Father. God allows this chastening, this training, this education, so we can grow in spiritual maturity. But if you see a God in the New Testament who chastens in the way of punishes, I don't see him there. I really don't. Let's talk about some biblical examples of difficulties and see there about the training. And first of all, we go back to Job. Now, here's one of those examples where Satan got in on the act, and by permission of God, interesting enough. And here we see the permissive will. Job 1, verse 6. One day the angels came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with them. Now, don't ask me to explain that because I don't understand it. It just says he was there. I don't know how he got in, whether he came in the back door, but there he was. And you can work that one out. Verse 7. The Lord said to Satan, where have you come from? Satan answered the Lord, from roaming through the earth and going back and forth in it. Then the Lord said to Satan, have you considered my servant Job? Now listen to what God said about Job. Don't miss this. There is no one on earth like him. He's blameless, upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil. Does Job fear God for naught? Says Satan. Haven't you put a hedge around him? His household and everything he has. You've blessed the works of his hands, so that his flocks and his herds are spread throughout the land. But stretch out your hand and strike everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face. The Lord said to Satan, very well, then everything he has is in your hands, but on the man himself do not lay a finger. The permissive will of God. God allowed Satan. Satan brought the problem. God allowed it. And what an incredible experience Job went through. Notice this also, because I think a lot of people miss it. The end of the story of Job was he was healed, he was restored, he prospered, God was with him. Don't ever miss the conclusion. What started in what I've just read to you finished in absolute glory. What about David? He got into difficulties by his own sin. Hey, friend, you can't blame anyone but himself. Listen. 2 Samuel chapter 11 and verse 2. 2 Sam 11 verse 2. One evening David got up from his bed and walked around on the roof of the palace. From the roof he saw a woman bathing. The woman was very beautiful, and David sent someone to find out about her. By the way, someone tells me she had a bathing costume on. I don't believe that. I don't think she had anything on. The man said, isn't she Bathsheba, the wife of Uriah the Hittite? Then David sent messengers to get her. She came to him, and he slept with her. Then she went back home. The woman conceived and sent to David, saying, I'm pregnant. Now, from beginning to end, that was entirely David's fault. First of all, he should have been leading his army, and he'd stayed back at the palace. He should have been busy, and he was idling. That was problem number one. Second thing, it seems that David had a little problem with women. And he lusted. and he sinned. Now listen, Psalm 51 verse 2. He says, wash away all my iniquity, cleanse me from my sin, for I know my transgressions and my sin is always before me. Against you, you only have I sinned, and done what is evil in your sight. Verse 10, create in me a pure heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me. Yes, David sinned. The good news with David is he confessed. He confessed directly. He confessed swiftly the moment it was shown to him. He put things right. Have you? Or is it true that some of you are churchmen and you've got lust in your hearts and you've never even told anyone, you've never confessed it? You've got a problem. Yes, David sinned, but David put it right. What about Paul? Well, he received a messenger from Satan, allowed by God to buffet him. He tells us, 2 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 7, to keep me from becoming conceited because of these surpassingly great revelations, there was given me a thorn in my flesh, a messenger of Satan to torment me. 3 times I pleaded with the Lord to take it away. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so Christ's power may rest on me. That's why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weaknesses, in insults, in hardships, in persecution, in difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong. For some reason, because of the fear of pride, God sent a messenger of Satan to buffet him. What did these men find? What did they learn? I think all of them learned humility. I think Job, David, and Paul all had sufferings from pride, or had that possibility. The fact is, because our human nature is what it is, all of us suffer from pride in some form. If we're real with God, He will begin to set us free from our pride. And there's an easy route, or there's a hard way. And if we buck Him, we may find that He has to allow a messenger from Satan, or something else, and we begin to experience the discipline of difficulty. Job did, certainly. David did, and we know Paul did. Listen to Paul. He says, when I am weak, then I'm strong.